Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting tonight, January the 5th, 2017. Our first order of business will be our public hearings, and we have two tonight. And the first one will be the Deerfield Vineyards. And that's a site plan, is that correct?
Yeah, the first one. Good evening, everyone. First item I have is a site plan approval request for Deerfield Vineyards, SP-105, to be located at 227 East Boone Slick Road. Property is zoned C2 General Commercial. On November 22nd, 2016, a request was filed for site plan approval for Deerfield Vineyards, a proposed winery to be located at 227 East Boone Slick Road. I'd like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the 2016 Warrenton Comprehensive Plan, the public hearing notice, and my planning and zoning report. And the applicant is here if you have any specific questions for him.
Thank you, Mr. Hamp. Anyone else here to speak on behalf or against the site plan for the Deerfield Vineyards in the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close that public hearing and open up the Deerfield Vineyards Conditional Use Permit, -48. Mr. Hamp.
This is a conditional use permit approval request for Deerfield Vineyards, CUP-48. Once again, to be located at 227 East Boone Slick Road. On November 22nd, 2016, a request was filed for conditional use permit approval for the Deerfield Vineyards, a proposed winery to be located at 227 East Boone Slick Road. Per Appendix A, 3, commercial use, G, retail sales and service, 1, alcohol sales, retail packaged liquor. A conditional use permit is required. This conditional use permit approval request has been submitted by the applicant along with the site plan SP-105 approval request as required per section 405.340C8. I'd also like to ask to make part of the public hearing record the municipal code by reference, the public hearing notice, and my planning and zoning report.
Thank you once again, Mr. Hamp. Is anyone here to speak on behalf or against the Deerfield Vineyards Conditional Use Permit? Hearing none, we'll close our public hearings for this evening and open up the regular meeting for this evening. And the first order of business will be our minutes from the October 6th meeting. December the 1st meeting.
I'll make a motion that the minutes be approved as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion by Mrs. Scott, second by Mr. Deach, to approve the minutes from the December 1st meeting as submitted. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
And Mr. Costello is absent.
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent. First order of business for this evening will be the boundary adjustments. Let's see, I'm on the wrong one here. Will be our Fairground Villas subdivision.
Yes, this is a subdivision approval request for Fairground Villas, SUBD-58. On December the 16th, 2016, a request for the approval of record plat for Fairground Villas subdivision was filed with planning and zoning by the applicant. And Mr. Corman's here. If you have any specific questions for him, it's basically we're following City Attorney Graville's recommendation to try to help resolve an issue to clear up some stuff with their title company. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, for the record, Bart Porman, Lewis and Beatty, surveyors and engineers. During the exchange, the title company was asking for a compliance letter from the city stating that that tract is in compliance with the subdivision code. Since it's never been through the subdivision process, even though the tract was created when Fairgrounds Road was taken over by the city, whatever, city attorney figured out that it's the best thing to do is just go through this process and create a one-lot subdivision, so that's what you're doing. It's more of a formality. There's no new lots or anything. I think this board is pretty familiar with the development overall that has been already approved and is actually under construction, but I'm here to answer any of the questions that you may have.
And I would like to state at this time that I'm going to abstain from the discussion because my daughter-in-law is on the NECAP board. So.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Corman tonight? Anybody have any questions for Chris? I know he's not here, but this was under Chris's advisement, though, to handle it this way.
Yeah, and basically, like Mr. Corman stated, the title company requested that I send them a letter that said it met all subdivision requirements. Well, since it's never,
Been through that.
since it's not a plat, it's impossible for it to meet subdivision requirements. The site plan approval was approved on April the 19th, 2016, per ordinance 2265. The conditional use permit approval was approved on April the 19th, 2016, per ordinance 2266. So the whole project has already come before you guys and before the Board of Aldermen as approved. But in order for the city to issue this letter, it needs to be a plat, so we can say, yes, it meets subdivision requirements. We did forward to the title company copies of the ordinances approving the site plan and approving the conditional use permit, but they said they still needed something saying that it met subdivision requirements
Okay.
for their part of the record. So we've been working together with Bart and Chris, and this seemed like the easiest,
Easiest way.
simplest way to help resolve the issue for everybody, for them.
Yeah.
None of the dimensions are different
Right.
from the site plan. It's basically the same drawing with a new title.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion?
I make a motion to approve the plat as submitted.
I second the motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Gerloff, second by Mr. Schwab to approve the Fairground Village subdivision -58. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Deitch?
Yes.
And Mrs. Scott abstains.
We have 8 yeses, 1 absent, and 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corman.
Thank you, Bart. And then
Next order of
on
business will be the
17th
Deerfield Vineyards
board meeting.
Site Plan -105.
Yes, this is the site plan approval request for Deerfield Vineyards, a proposed winery to be located at 227 East Boone Slick Road. And like I said, Mr. Topkin's here if you have any specific questions for him.
Okay.
And they've got it pulled up on the screen too. Okay. Sorry to help you.
Just go ahead and state your name for the record.
My name is Bob Churkin. I live in 22146 Glenelg Lane. I'm requesting approval for Deerfield Vineyards on Main Street, the old drugstore. And I'm going to open a winery/brewery on Main Street.
Have you got a date for this approximately, or just curious?
Everything is contingent on approval of you guys, or the board approving. So the board approve, I go in front of the board January 17th, and I close on the building January 20th. So if they approve me, then I close. If I don't get approved, then I don't close. Beyond that, then I'm hoping to open April, May timeframe.
Okay.
So I've been making wine since 2002. I'm trying to gear up to hopefully get approved and be able to get into this. So, any questions?
I'm all for it. I like
Yeah.
the downtown, so.
I am very excited about being part of revitalizing downtown. I'm hoping that we bring a lot of foot traffic in that will then encourage other shops to come in, associated type of shops, and help try to revitalize downtown.
Now, will you be selling just wine that you make, or are you gonna sell other wines?
No, I will only be selling wine I make.
Okay.
For the first year or two, until I get the brewery up to speed, I'm bringing craft beer in from all over the state and surrounding states. So I will actually offer, I've already been in contact with a distributor in Columbia that only deals in craft beer. And he can bring in craft beers that a lot of people around here have never even tried yet. So it's a win-win, is people can try craft beers that you can't buy around here. And until I get up to speed to where I can
Make your own.
make my own. So I think it's a win-win for everybody, so.
Well, I am delighted to see an innovative use coming in to downtown, and I would make a motion to approve.
And I will second that motion.
I would third it if we needed it, but
I hope all of you get to come and visit and try out
I'll be
all
there,
this
I
out.
guarantee.
This would be great for your business too.
Oh, this is our neighbors. We're looking forward to it. We're just a block over, so.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Mrs. Scott, second by Mr. Deach to approve the site plan for the Deerfield Vineyards. Any other questions or comments? Roll call vote?
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent. Next order of business will be the conditional use permit for the Deerfield Vineyards as well.
That's the conditional use permit approval request for the Deerfield Vineyards. And as I stated during the public hearing, it's due to the fact that it's the alcohol packaged liquor sales is what requires the conditional use permit.
And that was the only thing that needed a conditional use?
Yes.
Correct.
Need a motion, I'll make one to be accept.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Mr. Durbin, second by Mrs. Scott to approve the conditional use permit for Deerfield Vineyards. Any other questions or comments at this time? Roll call vote?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Schwab?
Yes.
Mr. Durbin?
Yes.
Mr. Gerloff?
Yes.
Mrs. Blondin?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Deach?
Yes.
Mr. Cullum?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Motion passes 9-0 with one absent. Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Good luck,
Good
Bob.
luck. So at this time,
We hope we get an invitation to your grand opening.
we'll close our regular meeting and turn the floor over to Mr. Hamp.
That's about it. I think everybody that's seen information on this project's very excited about it. It might be the trigger that we need to
Start
start
starting.
bringing some life back to the
I
town.
really want to thank Jack and the city for helping me go through this process. They've bent over backwards to
Nice.
assist me through
Good.
this thing.
Good to hear.
Yes.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it.
Mr. Gerloff, you wanted to mention
Yes.
something real quick?
I would like to get on the agenda for the board to look at the old part of town with the setback requirements. We ran into that on a couple, and I would like, Jack has said that the attorney is looking at it, and I would like to
Have an update?
get an update and move this forward so it doesn't just die on the vine somewhere, because down the road, there are some lots that could be built on if we can get some setbacks changed in the older part of town.
Can you look into that, Mr. Hamp?
Yeah, I can check and see if Chris is working on it.
Okay.
or if he has a status, or the board instructs me to do something to help bring you guys up to speed or do the research for you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anybody else have anything for the good of the group? Mr. Ham?
Stay warm.
Happy New Year. Thanks for coming out. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Deach, second by
Second.
Mrs. Scott. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Have a good day. Good day.
Good day. Good day.